Hey, what's going on, guys? Dr. Sean J. Harris here at Generational Wealth Academy. And I want to come to you guys this morning and just talk about millionaires, millionaire status. 80% of millionaires are entrepreneurs and not athletes or entertainers. I think so many times people get into the mindset of thinking that, particularly in my community, people look like me, the mindset has always been that you have to either carry a microphone or a ball to make it successfully financially. And that's just not the case. In all actuality, it's actually easier becoming a millionaire as an entrepreneur than it would be as an athlete or an entertainer. Um, I'm 5'6", so I knew that I was not going to make it to the NBA. I played football for like half a season, probably wasn't even half a season, probably like 2 or 3 weeks. And I took one good hit and realized that wasn't going to be for me. So I knew that my wealth was not going to come from athleticism. I can't sing and I can't dance. So I knew you weren't going to catch me on MTV or BET or some type of entertainment stage performing. Um, so I quickly realized that I had to look at some different options as it related to being able to create wealth and successes. Again, as I said, it's far easier becoming a millionaire as an entrepreneur than I would have if I was an athlete or entertainer. But I want to talk about the tale of two types of athletes because so many people think that that's the end all to be all as it relates to being able to create income. You have, and I'm going to use the sport of football because football players they make some good income. I was talking to Tara this morning. I was like, you know what? I think so many times people wonder why athletes make so much money. Well, it's for the entertainment, but here's how that process works. It's a business. You have your traditional athlete who gets multi-million dollar contracts. They go out and subsequently make purchases. I'm going to come back to that in a second. But then you have the other athlete that are your Magic Johnsons, your Shaquille O'Neals, who took it upon themselves to learn about business, the business of their sports, whether football, basketball, baseball, and they leverage the income that they make and they grow it. I remember just hearing many interviews and reading stories on Magic Johnson, how he practically begged the owners. He said, I want to know the behind the scenes of the NBA. I want to be on the money side and not just the entertainment, athletic side. So, needless to say, Magic is phenomenal. We see the things that he's doing that allows him to be able to do so many things philanthropic because he positioned himself to make such a high net worth. Same thing with Shaquille O'Neal. You cannot turn on your TV and not see Shaquille O'Neal with company after company after company doing some major things. I just saw something yesterday where he started another restaurant that he's going to be franchising. So they utilize and leverage the sports that they played in, which both of these gentlemen were basketball, and they position themselves to be able to create so much capital that they could deploy into other investments that really brought them the wealth. I remember Shaquille O'Neal talked about. I think it was Shaquille. He talked about he didn't even spend any of his basketball money. He just only lived on endorsements or something to that effect. But that's what's called having business acumen, being financially savvy. But then most athletes out here, particularly the younger ones, I noticed that they'll just go out and they'll buy clothes, shoes, cars, houses, all kind of stuff that's not uh, building their net worth necessarily. Now, you may say, well, Sean, why do sports team owners feel so comfortable paying these amounts of money to athletes? Well, again, it's a business because they understand that many of these athletes do not have financial literacy. So they know they're going to spend that money frivolously. Now, what that does is they can give them a multi-million dollar contract, a $20 million contract, because these owners know that that money is going to be redirected right back through the funnel system of the owners, as well as some of their friends who may be people who own these name brand clothing, the cars, the Bugattis, the builders that build houses. So they know that the athletes are just a conduit, and they can funnel that money through the athlete, and then that money now diversifies and goes into different directions and different veins, whether it's the jewelry folks, whether it's name brand clothes, stuff like that. So they know that that money is going to recirculate back into their community and not the community of the athlete necessarily. So that's what's called economic balance. I've talked about that many times. And economic balance is how long money stays in a particular community. So you can't build group economics if you don't keep the economic balance in your community. The African American community, last I checked, our economic balance is 4 to 6 hours. So that means that money stays in our community for 4 to 6 hours once it meets our hand before it leaves the community. The Caucasian community, economic balance is about 4 to 6 days. The Arab and Asian community were tied, which was like 12 to 14 days, but the Arab community is moving upwards towards the same time frame as the Jewish community, which the Jewish community is 31 days before money leaves their community. See, that's how a community grows, thrives, and strives, by keeping the money in that economic group if it's ever expected to survive as an economic a group. So again, these athletes, they spend their money quickly, so the owners don't mind putting it out. So because the way that the sports team owners look at it is like the money's never theirs. It's just kind of going through their hand, and they're assigning them to go out. Go to Jake the jeweler and buy jewelry from him. That's my buddy. Go over here and buy this particular car because that's my buddy who owns that company. Buy this particular watch. Oh, he's my buddy too. Our kids play soccer together. So it's a business. So you have to understand the difference between the two. So again, that's why it's so important that we teach kids at an early age about financial literacy. Teach them about business acumen, give them options and opportunities to be able to do something different and not necessarily do something that's athletic and, quite frankly, hazardous to your health. The way we're raising our kids, DJ, Kennedy, Caden, we teach them how to use their brains to make money and not their bodies. Okay. One thing I was just sharing with Caden earlier this week, I've been hammering it into him, understanding that I don't want him to work hard for money. However, I do want him to work hard to build systems, because systems make money for you. Okay. You have to be able to leverage things. Tools make a job easy. Being able to have a tool in place to leverage how you make income, it makes all the difference. It's just like if I go in my kitchen and go underneath the sink and just take the pipe with my hand and try to twist it, it's going to be to no avail. But if I just take a simple plumber's wrench, torque it down, and just a slight turn, I can break the torque on that pipe easily. Same thing lifting a car. I'm not going to go out and lift either one of my trucks. But if I just simply get a jack and jack it up with leverage, it doesn't take much effort, the truck will just lift. So again, tools make a job easy. So you have to put yourself in a position, put your kids, your grandkids in a position where they have leveraging tools where they can take the money and grow the money. It's three money rules. The first money rule is to be able to create income. Now, I like to say not just create income, but create a high income skill set. A high income skill set is a skill that you possess to create income in excess of 5 figures every 30 days or less. So many times people say, well, Sean, I got a high income job. That's a big difference. You can have a high income job, but once the job goes, so goes the income. A skill set no one can take from you. Think about, I'm sure most people on here have ridden a bicycle before, know how to ride a bicycle. Many of us haven't ridden a bicycle in years, however. But if you get on a bike right now, I'm sure you can just loop around your subdivision and pop wheelies and do all kind of cool stuff on a bike, because you can't unlearn that skill set. Once you've seen something, once you've been exposed to something, you can't unsee it. You can't unlearn that. I have a background in aeronautics and aerospace propulsion in the United States Air Force. I still know things about aircraft. If I were to go down in some tropical land on an island and the plane needed repairing, I can do that, because that's a skill set that I'll never forget. Second money rule is be able to hold on to money, but not just hold on to money to put it in the cushion of the couch or in the mattress or in the shoebox in the closet, but to hold on to the money, like we said, the economic balance. You don't want to just go spend your money as soon as you get it. You want to hold on to it, but you want to hold on to it because it leads into number three, which is being able to grow the income. You want to be able to grow your money, cultivate that money, put fertilizer on it, and expand. And you do that by different investment strategies and techniques. There's various different things you can invest in. But geez, I could be here all day just talking about different investments, and it's not just necessarily stock market investing. There's so many different tools and strategies that we have used to build wealth as it relates to investing. Same thing with Kennedy and Caden. As they make money in their businesses, they always reinvest back in their businesses, but they also have their own capital investment firms. Kennedy has her own capital investment firm. Caden has his own capital investment firm. So the monies that they make, that they invest, they put it into their capital companies. These companies are responsible for like real estate holdings that they have, different investments that they'll be investing in the future. So it's important that we expose kids at the earliest possible age. Well, Sean, what age should you start teaching financial literacy? As soon as they can talk. As soon as they can talk, you should start teaching your kids about financial literacy and business acumen. So many kids, 3, 4, 5 years old, they know all of the latest dances, they know all of the latest songs, but do they know what an asset is? Do they know the difference between an asset and liability? Do they know what a rate of return is? Do they understand what inflation is? What a recession is? See, right now, this is the absolute best time to teach your kids about finances in real time. Share with them what's going on. Share with them why the gas prices are elevated. Share with them why groceries cost more. You have to explain to them while they're in it instead of trying to hide it. And I think that's one thing I think as a society we had to get out of that stigma of thinking that money is taboo and we can't talk about it. You will never get out of a financial problem without talking about money. Okay. Um, yeah, I can't say no other way other than that. You got to talk about it. It may be an uncomfortable subject, but when you start creating money, you'll find out that it becomes a very comfortable subject to talk about. And when you start talking to other people with money, you'll see that your money will increase as well. So here's the deal: broke people stay broke because they hang around other broke people. Why is that? Because broke people share broke ideas. On the converse, wealthy people become wealthier because they hang with wealthy people. Why? Because wealthy people share wealthy ideas. I can't put it any more simpler than that. You are the sum of the people that you hang around with. We've all heard the saying, if you hang around 9 broke people, you're going to be number 10. Well, just the same holds true with being wealthy. Hang around 9 wealthy people, you will be number 10 as long as you do what they're doing. And by default, typically you'll start having investment habits. You'll start having money making habits. You'll start having saving habits. You'll start thinking differently. See, I couldn't stay around the same people that I hung around with when I wasn't on my game financially because I would have the same results. And you'll tend to find a lot of times people say, well, it's lonely at the top, it's lonely being wealthy. It's not, because all my friends are wealthy. All the people I hang around with, we think the same. We do the same things. We travel. So the percentage may be smaller. I may be in the top 3 to 5% of income creators, but people who are in different income classes hang with similar people, and we help grow and cultivate one another, encourage. We understand different things. Tara and I, do we have the same friends we have 5 years ago, 10 years ago? Some, yeah, some, no. But it's not because of us. We didn't drop friends. But sometimes, unfortunately, a lot of times people's self images may change or they may feel uncomfortable being around you. Um, but one of the key things is don't feel intimidated. Just figure out what it is you need to do. Ask questions. Hey, listen, I want to increase my net worth. What are some of the things I should be doing? So that's why it's important to have proper association. Hey, what's going on, Dr. Thomas? So you don't want to shy away from people because they may have outgrown you financially or outgrown you business acumen wise. Get in and just figure it out, because I've been in countless rooms where I just knew I didn't belong in that room. But once you get in there and you start figuring out some things and you start learning things, getting around different people and associations, you'll find out that's the exact room you were supposed to be in. You don't stumble in rooms by accident. But the key thing is you got to get in the room. I can't stress that enough. You have to get in the room, whether it's relationship building, whether it's information that you're going to learn. But those are some of the things that my family and I have done to establish successes and wealth that we've developed is proper association. Okay. So in closing, I just want to go with these three things, which these are the three things that changed for me. You can ask me 10 years from now, hey, Dr. Quinn, these three things will never change. Here's the three things that changed for us and made all the difference financially, business wise, just the things that we know, the people that we know, the relationships. And that, I can't stress that enough. You got to have relational currency. Most people think wealth is only money, but it's not. You got to have great relationships. Dr. Quinn, who's on here, her two daughters, Ziggy and Tootie, with Ziggy and Tootie Cakes, they are the youngest bakery owners in the country. And I'm not talking about they baking cookies and cakes and cupcakes in their mama's kitchen. They got a building, a brick and mortar building. And that's what I was talking about earlier. I was talking about you got to expose kids at the earliest possible age, give them opportunities. See, Kennedy, I've been taking her interning with some doctors over the summer. She saw a chiropractor, she saw a pediatrician, working a veterinarian and dentist next. But at the chiropractor office, one of the ladies that worked there, she's like, why is she here? She's too young. And I quickly nipped that in the bud. I was like, why do you have to wait until you're 16, 17, 18 years old to start thinking about what it is you want to do, rather than expose them at early ages now at 10, 11, 12 years old, so that they can decide, yeah or nay, I do like this, no, I don't like that, so that they can already be fully engaged by the time they're 17, 18 years old and ready to rock and roll. You guys saw the young lady the other day. I think her name is Anila. She's in med school. She's 13, I think it is, 13 years old. She's mentored by a good buddy of mine, Benny Randall. And her parents exposed her early. That's why she's in med school at 13 years old. So it's important to expose kids. So the three things I want to talk to you about that changed for us and made all the difference. This is like the holy grail for me. First thing was I changed what I read, what I allowed to go to my ear and my eye gates. Instead of reading bodybuilding magazines, Sports Illustrated, stuff like that, I started picking up Newsweek. I started picking up Forbes magazine. I started picking up Black Enterprise magazine, different things that started teaching me about business acumen, started teaching me about the financial things I needed to know, how to deploy my capital. Second thing I did was I changed who I associated with. Again, I couldn't keep hanging with my buddies from the Air Force that I used to get drunk with on the weekends because it wasn't moving the needle for me. I couldn't keep hanging out with my buddies that's going to the club every weekend. I had to change who I associated with. So I started hanging around other people who made the net worth that I was interested in making. I started hanging around with people who could teach me how to take this capital and deploy it and start making big money on my investments. Tara and I, we have invested in a lot of untraditional things that many people had no clue about. So many people jumped into real estate. Now, do we do real estate? Yeah, we own two real estate companies. But there's other techniques and strategies to real estate where the everyday average person may not be able to afford real estate. You can invest in mobile homes. We found we made more money there than we did in just our traditional real estate companies. Because here's the deal. You can take one house, a single family home, you may purchase it for $60,000. But the rent that you may get may only be $200 that month. That's your immediate gross profit. And that's providing that they don't tear up your house, that you don't have to replace a water heater, that you don't have to replace a refrigerator, that you don't have to replace a furnace. Good God, if you only made $200 a month and you had to replace a furnace that was $2,500, you just lost your profit in that property for the next 2 years. See, so it sounds sexy, it sounds glamorous to be a real estate investor. But when we were selling mobile homes and flipping those, the same $60,000 for one house could buy, good grief, man, we could buy like 9 or 10 mobile homes. Each one of these mobile homes yielded us $300 to $500 a month. So you extrapolate $300 times what, 9 different units. You're talking about $2,700 a month of cash flow coming in repeatedly. Now here's the cool deal: anybody can buy a mobile home. It's like buying a house. See, a mobile home is not real estate, even though people live there. But the title transfer is as simple as like a title transfer. You just go down to the DMV. So that's a strategy. Another strategy we used, I used this many years ago, was auto auctions investing. I had a buddy of mine. He said, "Hey Sean, how much money you got in your pocket right now?" I had like $100 bill. He said, "Let's go. We're going to buy a car." I said, "Man, there's no way we're going to go buy a car for $100." He said, "Get in the car. Let's go." Went down to the auction and I bought a 1983 Honda Civic for $60. And the car ran perfectly fine. I ended up selling that car. This was back during eBay Motors. We didn't have all the cool stuff we have now, like with cell phones. So we had to take a picture with that old-fashioned camera with the little hard disk you put inside. Went home, loaded up on the computer that night. Car sold for $120 that night. So I doubled my profits. He said, "Hey, let's take that 120. Let's go back." Went back to the dealership, bought another car with that 120. I think it was a Mitsubishi Mirage. I'm dating myself, I know. It was a Mitsubishi Mirage. I flipped that car and sold it for like $320. Went back again, took that $320, and I think I bought a Q45. I think it was a 1991 Q45. It was gold Q45. Bought that for $300. So I still had the $20 profit and the $300. Subsequently, I just kept doing it. This is all within about 7 to 10 day time frame where I sold these 3 cars. I guess a few weeks later, I had escalated and started selling Lexus, BMWs with the same $60. I never came out of pocket with the new $60. I kept using that same $60 that flipped and flipped and flipped, and continued doing that for a while. And I was selling high end cars off of $60. See, it's the strategies and techniques that you have to know, that you learn. But I learned this by associating with other people. When traditionally I wouldn't have never thought about that. I had a buddy of mine, he wanted to buy a Suburban. I think it was like $35,000. I said, "Listen, man, I get that Suburban for you for like $13,000. Well, needless to say, he went ahead and bought the Suburban for $3,500, but that only afforded him like a 30-day warranty because he got it from a used car lot. But I was like, "Listen, I could have got you the same Suburban with a great body, interior, exterior for $13,000. Worst case scenario, you needed a new engine and a new transmission. That would have been an extra $5,000. So that would have put you at an all in at $18,000. That's still nearly half of what he paid, but he would have had a brand new truck." Tara and I, we don't believe in new cars. We don't do car notes. I haven't had a car note in at least 12 years, I think. We buy cars cash if we need a new vehicle. But like our vehicles, we got three trucks, 3 everyday regular trucks, nothing spectacular. We got an Expedition, we got a Tahoe, and a Hummer. But in those vehicles, I don't. If something goes wrong, just get it fixed. But I don't have a car note. My Hummer, I got practically a new engine and new transmission in that about 2 years ago, so it's a brand new truck. Tara's Tahoe, put a new transmission in that thing. No, put a new engine in there. Well, no, she got a new engine and transmission over the last 2 years. Brand new truck. Uh, Expedition still operating on the original engine, original transmission, but we don't have car notes, so we don't get into this fancy dancy things. We have to drive certain vehicle. We have to drive this. We have to drive that. I had a buddy of mine. When the 740 IL first came out with BMW, lovely car. I love the car myself. But he's like, "Man, I bought this car for whatever it was, like $60,000 then." He said, "I bought this car, but I never get to enjoy it. It just sits in the parking lot along with the other BMWs for the other doctors that work with me." He said, "I never get to drive the car. I never get to enjoy it. It sits in a parking lot, in a parking deck. It's like a BMW and a Mercedes parking car lot." He said he never got to enjoy it. Here's another thing. I don't work a 9 to 5, so I don't have to just be out and about all the time. So I'm not really hung up on vehicles necessarily. Um, so all that changed because of people I was associating with. And the third thing was I changed how I used my time. I didn't say how I spent my time, it's how I used my time. I started maximizing, leveraging, and investing my time. I was no longer spending time. Um, to this day, I still have a litmus test. Tonight, Tara and I, we're going to a party tonight. It's an anniversary party for business, and it's a Tuesday. Traditionally, people don't go to parties on Tuesday, but this is unlike regular parties. See, that's my litmus test to tell how I use my time. Hey, Sean, we're having a party Friday night. Pookie and Ray Ray, they're coming over. I'm probably not going to go because me going is not the highest and best use of my time, and it's not doing anything to move the needle towards me increasing my net worth. Now, the party tonight is very well worth my time. You guys will see y'all know how I post. Y'all will see where we were and who we were with tonight. But it is the absolute highest and best use of my time on a Tuesday night. Um, we use events for leveraging, networking, and most importantly, relationship building. I can't stress that enough. You got to build relationships. So many things that happen for us today is a direct result of relationships that we've built in the past that we just cultivated. And we don't build relationships just to say, okay, what can we get out of this relationship? We build relationships just because we like relationships. We like people. We like learning new things. We like learning about new spaces of being able to create income, just things we don't know. And more importantly, it's just the friendships. And over time, business things just come into fruition. It's not that we set out for anything like that. It's just, hey, we make friends. So tonight we're going to be networking with some important folks tonight. That's going to be a value add to us and us a value add to them as well. So that's one thing. You want to make sure that you are creating substantial value add to other people. You don't want to just be that person that's always withdrawing. You don't want to be pressing the button on the ATM of relationships, getting stuff out, because eventually you're going to hit a non-sufficient fund and nobody's going to want to invest in you. Nobody's going to want to sow back into you. So Tara and I, and the kids as well, because we teach them the same thing, give to others. You give enough, it's always going to come back. That's why, see, that's the thing too. Sean, why do you put out free content? Why do you not charge for certain things? Well, if you're afraid to give free stuff, it's because you don't have enough in you. You got to be to the point where you're over. I have to get stuff that's out of my brain. I got to get it out so I can have room for more stuff. Otherwise, you get mental constipation. And dude, I got a plethora of information, so I don't mind one bit sharing information with people and being able to help them advance. So those are the three things that changed for our family that made all the difference. I spent 63 days homeless. I was a C student. My high school guidance counselor told me the most I amount to was a warehouse worker. I've owned warehouses before, run multiple companies. I made contact with Ms. Byron last year, probably about this time last year. We were supposed to meet last Thanksgiving time frame. She stopped communicating. I guess people may have told her, hey, you know, it's one of your students that you told this message to. I wasn't going to be nasty. I just want to meet with her and just share with her that it's important what you say to a kid because you can make or break a kid. Thank God I was mentally strong. I come from a strong family. So what she said, I just kind of let it roll off the back like a duck, water off the back of a duck. But to this day, she won't meet with me. But I'll still always share my message of being a C student and CEO. And she knows who I am and where I am today in life. Um, but you got to change those three things: who you associate with, how you use your time, and what you read. That's going to make all the difference in the world. All right, guys, I got a lot of stuff I got to do today. Hopefully that was a great value add and I invested in your time wisely, and that you could take something that I shared here with you today and help you move the needle. All right, guys, y'all take care. Time is running out. 2022 just started like yesterday. We're in month number 8. Time is running out. Whatever it is you said you were going to do for 2022, there is still time to achieve that goal. Put the hammer down and do what you got to do, because time is not promised. Your tomorrow is not promised. The rest of today is not promised. So do something that's going to create an indelible impact in your life and the life of somebody else. All right, guys, y'all take care.